Hi everyone, Macsen here. Welcome to my latest Stellaris Let's Play. This one being the first time I'm using a new expansion, Utopia, and its accompanying patch, the Banks patch. I'll actually be using Banks version 1.51 to start, and we'll be upgrading if there's any new patches that come out throughout the course of the Let's Play. So basically it was a hotfix, the initial version as well, if you're wondering, and you can access that via the beta tab within Steam if you haven't done so yourself. So, when it comes to Banks and Utopia, they are huge changes to the game. They've added a number of new features, at least the Utopia expansion has, and to be honest, the Banks patch has as well actually. So Utopia, for example, has added things such as megastructures and ascension perks, whereas the Banks patch has added things like a new tradition system. And the whole game has massively changed, so if you've been on the fence with Stellaris, now is the time to really consider getting off, because this is a very good game now. It's been massively improved by the Banks patch and the Utopia expansion. And during the course of this Let's Play, I'm going to be showing off as many new features as possible. And I'll be using this race here, the H.O.S.T Empire, which stands for the Hegemony of Service Territories. You may be aware that I recently released my second guide video for Stellaris. My first one had been on early game expansion. This recent one though is for Utopia and focuses on citizen rights, a new feature within Banks, and also on population specialization, which has always been possible but is now much easier to do within Banks Utopia. You can see a number of the populations that I created for that guide down here, and I will use terms from that guide occasionally, but if you haven't watched it yet, don't worry, it's not going to be too confusing for you. I was actually planning on using this race for the Let's Play, but I had a bit of a change of mind. I wanted to create an entirely new race. This one was an updated race I had played with before. So, in terms of the new race I'm going to be using, it is a host, as I mentioned, and I've written a bit of a backstory, so I'll read that for you first, before we get into the game. So, the Pathoprosacus are sentient gaseous sacs, gas bags. To procreate, they release their gas in the proximity of an intended host. Once infected, inseminated, the host will live out their remaining years under full locomotive control of the gas bag that infected them. Once the gestational period is finished, they will die horribly. The host has no physical control over their actions, but are mentally and sensorially aware of what is being done to them. The first to suffer this fate were a sentient race that also developed on their homeworld. This is a new feature within the Utopia expansion. You can now pick syncretic evolution, which basically means you start with a subservient species on your homeworld. With the aid of their unwilling victims, the gas bags have industrialized and now look to the stars to find more useful hosts. So this is a pretty scary race. You do not want to be infected by their offspring basically and control for the rest of your life. And to accompany that ideology or backstory, I've basically added certain things that will allow them to acquire populations throughout the course of the game, whether they are primitives or if they're just normal empires. So I've gone for fanatic authoritarian, so that's going to be able to allow us to create a stratified society. There's also a new feature called factions added in Banks as well, so you have to be a bit careful about your ethics choices and the way you want to play, and I'll be discussing more about that later on. So militarist goes very well with authoritarians, and we've actually got a new system as well, government. If I actually come in here, you can now pick civics, and yeah, you also choose the authority type. Certain factions like certain authorities, so that's very important. There's a variety of ways to play the game now as well. Hive minds have been added, and perhaps I'll play as one of those in the future. And also fanatic purifiers, which is an anti-diplomacy mechanic. But I think we'll just stick with a relatively usual game for this one to start out before we get into that. They are radically different ways to play, those two are. So I've also gone for slaver guilds. To be honest, I would probably prefer cutthroat politics, or one of the bonuses that gives extra influence based on factions. There's actually quite a few really good things here. Later on you can actually gain another civic to add. If you pick syncretic evolution now, you always have to keep that though, so that's a bit of a downside. You can't switch that one out. In terms of traits, I've gone for extremely adaptive. So if you watch my guide video, this is going to be a mixture of an adapter build and also a leader build, because I've picked enduring. This is a leader characteristic. Decadent, well, to pick those skills for starters you have to have a certain amount of negative traits. So decadent I arguably wouldn't even count as a negative trait, because within certain factions you actually benefit from being decadent, which I'll show a bit later on. So that just means you need slaves or you won't be as happy. The other two picks for traits were a bit more difficult. So if I come back in here and have a look through the traits, well, often I would pick non-adaptive, but you can't if you're extremely adaptive. So there wasn't too many negative traits actually that I was willing to take. Slow learners is pretty much anti that, so I wouldn't want to pick that. Weak actually affects factions, so especially military factions, which I've gone for my ethics, so that wouldn't be a good choice. Solitary I don't really want, because at least in the game start I'm going to be using this on science tiles and energy tiles. Repugnant, that would affect aliens, and I want a very multi-species empire, so I don't want that. They could have gone deviants, but I don't particularly like that much. That's a bad choice and opposite to enduring. And wasteful would add a ton of mineral costs. That's a new negative trait. So I didn't really have too much choice about the options, and to be honest, slow breeders, I don't want millions of these. I'm actually going to be mainly colonizing with my slave species, apart from on worlds that they can't colonize, which I use them to colonize basically, because they're extremely adaptive. Sedentary won't be too negative for me. I'm not sure if I'll be using migration to start with this race, and we already get a big bonus off resettlement costs, so that's really not going to affect us too much. So long term, I'm actually planning on using the Ascension biological path. So this race may actually act a bit like a caterpillar that turns into a moth or a butterfly right at the end of the Ascension perks, because I probably will be changing all of these perks into something else. I have a plan to do that. You can also change your ethics now within Banks Utopia. I have actual plans to maybe do that also. So there's a huge amount of things you can really do in Banks Utopia, and I should get started. So let's press select. So these are the actual game settings I'm going to use. I believe if I click one across, that would be the default settings, I think. So I haven't really changed too much here. I'm going to lower the advanced AI stats because I'm playing on hard. I think that isn't actually default. It seemed to stick for some reason. I think the default empire amount in this map size is 9 now. Because it did change here, didn't it, when I went across, so I assume that's the default. I think it's right amount anyway, with the amount of planets you start with these days, which has been lessened a lot. But there's mega structures now, so you can effectively build planets, so it's not such an issue longer into the game. So that's the game settings. I'm going to play on Spiral 2 arms. I think I prefer that over elliptical, as a bit more closeted in to start, but not so much as Spiral 4 arms. Let's play. Okay, so there's a bit of a backstory on our race here, and the first thing I'm going to do is check out my home system and see what race we happen to have as slaves. We have this race, the Bruggen. Now, to be honest, because I'm starting on Alpine, which is quite cold, I really like it because it's probably my favourite graphics for the planet type. That's why I've mainly gone it. I would really like a big dumb mammal to be my slave for my race. So what I'm actually going to do is go back to the menu quickly and just select this again and hope I get the option I want. And if I don't this time, what I'm going to do is take a minute out to keep on reloading until I get a big hairy dumb mammal. Okay, so it took me quite a few reloads, about 10 actually. It took me quite a while, but I finally got a big ugly woolly mammal, which will look quite nice in these alpine worlds and also fits the backstory. It doesn't actually give any differences to any other race that I would have had. It's always going to be the same stats up here, but it just looks right. So if I were to ask Paradox something, I'd actually ask them to allow you to choose the race for your subservient species. That would be great in future, but yeah, I got what I wanted in the end anyway. So I haven't even had a look at the map yet and all of the other things that are going on. So we start off within this spiral arm here. Now hopefully there's going to be ways to travel to the other arms relatively easily. By looks of that, no, it's not going to be that easy. What about that arm? That one's not going to be easy. So I'm going to need to actually upgrade my warp drives at some point, which I started with, and I also started with mass drivers. Basically the only reason I've gone for those is because I like them. They're probably my favorite at the moment. So in terms of science, let's start with that. Now there has been a change in Banks Utopia. Colony ships tech no longer exist. You basically start out with the ability to make colony ships straight away once you've got enough minerals. So at this choice I'm going to go for solar panel. For that choice, ooh, that's an interesting one. I'm probably not going to need robots that much in this game because I have that subservient race which will fit their role. But it does give some nice bonuses. But you know what? I'm going to go for the coil gun first of all. Get a military upgrade straight away. And for this choice, wow, those are three probably the best choices you could start with, apart from influence. Actually, influence was the best choice, and they're like the next ones along that I would want. I'm going to go for the growth time, I think. First of all, that's the start of the biological line, which is going to be very important during this game. Now in terms of every new feature found within Banks Utopia, like the factions, one hasn't actually come in yet, but you can see the attraction value, and you can also see some of the bonuses. Now this isn't by accident. I've specifically picked certain things to get bonuses, such as the autocratic government and the decadent pops, so that's going to be great. If you happen to be authoritative, is it called? Yeah, authoritarian, then you always are going to get egalitarian factions basically competing, which are the slaves who don't want to be ruled basically, or in slavery. But I've got a couple of things there as well, which lowers the egalitarian amount, which is great. I may turn xenophobe at some point when I turn my race around into something else, when we get all the genetic traits. You can get 9 genetic points eventually with the ascension down that path. Militarist, you can see I started with a strong race, the servitude race, so we get a bonus to that, and I didn't pick weak, so I don't get a negative. Yeah, there are some traits that give bonuses and negatives. Not too many, but yeah, about 4 or 5 I think. Okay, so that's factions, and then of course there's traditions. But I'm not going to talk an awful lot about this until we actually start to, yeah, need to talk about it. Let's actually get going and find out about our local surroundings. So I'm going to use my Corvette, split them up, and send them to various locations in the local proximity. So early on, I'm hopefully going to find some primitive races. That's what I really want to find, so I can conquer them and yeah, start our multicultural species empire under the control of the gas bags. So that's all done. Science ship, let's do a survey on there, looking for minerals, 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 minerals to start out. That's what you need. And right, that's good. I'm hoping I'm not forgetting anything now. I'm going to be playing on faster speed in the main. Okay, so keep an eye out here now, basically. Right, we've got a new ear. Well, I haven't checked what starting ruler traits to get. So food and resilience. Could be better, to be honest. The air is monthly unity. I would have liked that. And minerals. Unity is what gives you the new traditions. It's like the social policies from Civ 5. Everyone's mentioned that it's very similar. It's basically identical in many ways. But yeah, that's what that system is like. Well, I've got a ton of minerals as well. And I've got, well, there's no point in building any production yet, I think, on here. So, yeah, I'm just waiting for that. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but maybe I'm not. Okay, so let's get out my corvettes, looking around these planets. I'll wait until they're all finished and then perhaps move on again. Can't see any minerals turn up there yet, which is a bit of a pain. You know what? I'm gonna hire a second scientist. Let's get this done a bit quicker. I think that's what I should be buying. Oh, right. Scientist options are pretty rubbish, actually. That's a pretty good scientist to start out with, though. Normally fail risk. I would have liked the one that gives you extra chance of finding anomalies. Okay. So, I found quite a few planets by the looks of it. Let's bring that over to there and that over to there. Okay. I think both of those have been found, haven't they? Doesn't really allow you to know, actually, just by looking at this map, if you can see all the planets or not. So that doesn't look different to me, so maybe they could do something about that in future. Paradox, that'd be good. Let's bring that to there, that's a there, that's a there. Okay. And I think I bring that to there, that's there. I don't arguably want to find too many empires to start out, because I want to do perhaps a bit of conquering of primitives, which will lower relations with them if they know about it. In terms of species rights as well, let's have a look at this. You should probably be figuring this out at the start. Right, so this is my slave race. Limited military service, yeah, that's fine. I don't want these to have the option to be leaders within my society, because my Pathoprosecus guys actually have a leadership bonus. So I'm going to keep them on caste, though. Won't give them too much living standards, which is extra happiness, but it costs you extra minerals. I don't have the minerals to spare. Might do later on, though. Yeah, I think everything here is okay, actually. I don't have quite all of the slave options that I would like, but I might be turning xenophobic at some point in the game, so I can do something about it then. Ancient structure. We have detected some kind of utterly massive space installation drifting quietly at the edge of the Forlinga system. Although preliminary scans show it to be very old, the structure has an intense power signature. Several smaller structures can be seen floating near the main installation, and all of them appear to be heavily armed. If we are to learn the true nature of this ancient relic, we will likely have to overpower its defenses through force of arms. This will not be easy. So that is a well, that's linked to the Leviathan's DLC, which I also have all of the DLCs installed in this game. I haven't found any minerals yet, so let's keep on looking for those.
Situation log updated.
Okay, looks like I met some spacefarers, some alien type. Now I'm not going to actually do this research yet until I've gotten the influence one, which is going to be a while actually. I'm going to have to wait on it. So I think that was, well, to be honest, I don't know what that was. Hopefully it was another empire, but there's a decent chance we're going to find another empire pretty early on. The empire I really don't want to meet is the fanatic purifiers, because they get so many combat bonuses and they're so aggressive. Frankly, they're overpowered compared to the other starting races, and if we're next to them, that's going to be a problem hard, but we'll see. Yeah, it looks like there's an empire up here, sadly. Okay. Right.
Construction
Once I've done a
complete.
bit of exploring, I'm probably going to take a minute out to look through each and every one of these systems, because primitives can actually turn up within these systems and there can be no icon like the habitable icons here. They can have planets even though that isn't there. So that's been the case with Stellaris since its beginning pretty much, and arguably it's an issue, arguably it's a feature, I don't know which at this stage. So the spaceport and service finished the science ship. Let's hire a scientist. And we don't really have very good options really for the one out in the field. I'm going to go for field manipulation, and I should look at the age, both 42, so that's not going to be any difference. What do I want then? I actually already have one of those, which I didn't realise. I should have had a look. Yeah, I'll just stick him out in the field then, since I've got two. I was going to place him there. And he can also start to explore. And yeah, still don't have any minerals, and I'm not going to get that energy yet because, well, I'll be wasting my production. I need to use it on minerals. Need to get minerals out first. Okay, there's engineering. Yeah, I'm going to wait on that as well. Okay. I think all of those are done. Yeah, I'm going to take a minute out to have a look in a bit, but let's get the minerals out first. Okay. Science ships aren't spared to go looking for primitives or surveying these worlds yet anyway. Okay, still no minerals. This, yeah, it's a bit of an issue by the looks of it. Don't have any minerals, I'm not going to be able to make anything.
System survey complete.
Okay, that is actually done. No minerals. Let's start over there. Luckily, there's quite a few systems within my starting territory. Has to be within your territory for you to manipulate it. Habitable World Survey comes in. Definitely going to take that option. It gives you extra money and biological society research later on. Just better than
Situation log updated.
influence. Okay, population should be growing on here, but it's got a while to go. Okay, finally, minerals. Right, let's get this mining station constructed down there. Right, what I'm actually going to do now is have a look through all of these systems, see if I can find any primitives. Okay, had to look around, couldn't find any. There still might be some on these planets though. I need to survey them coming up. I've sent my fleets, my ships out to look for more planets though. Something which I haven't shown you as well, I have a modifier to start out, an agenda, so that's national purity, alien migration attractions, lower tile influence, output is raised. Not sure if that's influence or unity, maybe it is influence, but there's only one building that actually gives tile influence, I think, and that's the capital of the empire that you don't start with. There is something I want to change here as well with the species that come into my empire. I might as well do it now. So let's take off the military service to start out. I may want to change that depending on the race, basically, if they happen to have strong troops or strong traits. Right, let's get going again then. Okay, we have made communications with an empire. These guys, ooh, brilliant. They are peaceful traders, so they are cannon fodder to our empire later on. Highly likely. Okay, so that's the first alien encounter. Let's have a look at them in a bit more detail. So they start at a -22. Bombardment policy they don't like of ours, so I'm actually going to change that, I think. Their traits, they have an arid preference, they're strong, slow learners, industrious. Well, that's a very good race actually for getting minerals, but not as good as my starting subservient race, who are, they have the proles bonus, so that's an extra 10%. Industrious is 10% as well, I think. Could be 15, unless if I'm mistaken. Let's have a look. Let's talk of species. They started robots, did they? Interesting. So industrious is, oh, it is 15. You know what? They may even be better at industry than my guys. They would be pretty useful. May want to acquire them. So they were after arid worlds, weren't they? So Savannah's in the same group. So I probably want to get an outpost over there and stop them colonizing any arid type worlds coming up. Now I'm actually, as I mentioned, going to change my policies and edicts. Let's lower that to keep relations high for the time being. Okay, and also I'm going to, yeah, at the start try and improve relations. I want to keep them peaceful while they are a small threat to me. I'm just going to give them a research treaty for free. This will give extra trust to them, although I don't think it mentions it anymore, which is strange. It used to, but it definitely does seem to give trust still. Right, let's get going again then. Still looking out for minerals. Okay, they accepted that. Okay, I think all my, well, nearly all of them have reached the places. Gonna have to look in a second to see if they found anything. Okay.
Anomaly found.
Right, it's an anomaly, but definitely not able to do that yet. I'm only gonna do them when there's a guaranteed success, more than likely.
System survey complete.
Okay, that's done. No new minerals. Let's move that to that system. Okay. You could make an argument that I should rival them to get a bit more influence, but I've got enough, I think. Not in desperate need of it. I'd rather keep them compliant at the moment. Right, so that can go to there in a second. I may even want to make another constructor coming up, or just save up for a colony ship now. Since I lack minerals, the only other place to get it is on actual planets, so I'm gonna have to colonize it. Scientist gained a new level. Excellent. Right. And is that finished getting where it wants to go? Yes. Right, I'm going to take a minute out then to have a look at the new systems I've had a look in. Okay, I've set the ships to explore a bit more. Couldn't find any primitives. If you're wondering when I get my first tradition, 23 months away, there is actually a building you can make that gives extra unity that you start with, but I want to get my minerals up first before I get it. But I'm becoming more and more tempted to make it since I'm not finding minerals. So yeah, when's this constructor get done? A little while. It's not quite worthwhile buying a constructor at this stage, I think. Just don't have the minerals.
Updated.
Encounter in H.O.S.T. Okay. I think
Situation log
creatures
updated.
probably rather than the Empire. Ooh, what's that though? Right, that is a alien space station. That's a feature from Leviathans, I think, which we'll have meet them a bit later on. Right, so we nearly done on this. Okay.
Construction complete.
Right, construct this done. Let's get you to this mineral. There happens to be on a planet, but yeah, that's fine. Let's keep on going. Okay. Right, just gonna briefly take another look to see if I found any primitives. Okay, I couldn't find any primitives, but I think I'm going to hold off from moving for a little while until I've surveyed these planets I have found in the area, because there could be primitives on those. So let's get going again then. Found some more minerals finally, excellent. So, ooh, there's even more there. I am getting more and more tempted to make another constructor, actually. Or I could just save
System
it for a colony
survey complete.
ship.
Anomaly
Save it for
found.
the colony ship. It's an anomaly, I'll leave that be for now. 2 surveys done, and the scientist probably went up a level. Okay, so I think everything within my territory is now explored. So what I'm going to do is basically get these out, looking for these planets, on these planets for, well, primitives basically, and just to survey them so I'm able to colonize them later on, because if you, yeah, you can't unless you've surveyed them first. So that one can go over there, that one can come up to these here, because my starting species is extremely adaptive. I can pretty much colonize everything as long as it has 40% habitability. Now, every single planet, apart from Tomb Worlds, I think, starts out as being 20%, but I get an extra 20%. So yeah, everything is 40%, and that's the minimum you need to colonize everything. So that's going to be great. Colonize every friggin' thing I want. So yeah, I'm going to be nicking the worlds off them, like that one and that one. Stop them from getting out. Looks like they're going to get at least 3 or 4 there though. Just a bit of a pain, but not the end of the world. Don't want them getting too strong. Box them in basically. Their ethics are pretty passive as well, so they're not going to get too annoyed at me, hopefully, by me doing that.
Construction complete.
Okay, constructor finished. Right, there's a 2 and a source there and a 2 source there, so they're the same. Let's get that one. Okay, this is slowly going up. Population is... Yeah, one downside with having the syncretic evolution is you get half growth to each population, so they arguably take a bit longer before they come in. I'm not exactly sure how the global food works now, in terms of, yeah, if it's a positive amount, then you grow. If it's flatlining, then, yeah, I think you may even grow a tiny bit if you flatline, but not a lot. Okay, we were contacted by the Riggin Commerce Exchange. This is the space station over there somewhere. So later on we can... or in fact, perhaps even now, potentially, we could trade minerals and buy strategic resources off them. But yeah, to trade for minerals, for example, you'd have to give them a ton of energy. It's not a very good exchange rate either, really, so you want to try and avoid having to use those unless you absolutely have to. Okay. So, scientists is surveying there, that one's coming over here. Let's might be able to nip in there and actually survey that despite the enigmatic fortress being there. Oh, hang on a second, that one's actually finished. Yeah, let's actually do that then. I'm going to have to turn that off and survey that and that. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if I've been recording for over half an hour or nearly half an hour, so I'm going to have to call it the end of the video here. So I quite like this start so far, apart from the fact we're a bit low on minerals, but there is a number of things I can do about that. My starting servile race is very good when it comes to mineral extraction, of course, so I can get some mineral tiles on the go in a bit and also colonize and have more planets on the go that will have mineral resources. We do have slaver guilds as well. I'm sure I will be able to colonize and even make outposts to acquire more minerals coming up. There's a pacifist race here which should be relatively easy to conquer at some stage, hopefully. That's going to be great, and they may even be pretty useful as well. I'm sure we'll find some primitives as well to conquer coming up. Might have to do a bit more exploration though if I don't find them on any of these local worlds. But yeah, all of that is to come in the rest of the Let's Play and much, much more. So, I'd just like to thank you for watching, and basically, if you want to help out the channel, please consider giving the video a like as well if you enjoyed the video. I really need all the help I can get. The more likes the video gets, the more people will be able to find out about it, because it raises the videos in YouTube's search rankings. If you want to share the video as well, please do that, or even stick it on websites if you want to get more people to view it if you think it's good enough. So other than that, you may want to leave some comments if you have any questions or you just want to say hi. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. I also have a Twitter page these days if you want to check that out. Well, there are some issues supposedly on YouTube with subscriptions, so the Twitter page will always show you what videos are coming out. And I believe you need to click on the bell icon when you're subscribing these days for things to show up definitely in your subscriber feed. Other than that, I would just like to thank my patrons on Patreon. That's a service that basically allows people to donate money to help support channels like my own. They've been a massive help, and I'd be really very grateful if you check it out yourself if you fancy helping to support the channel. Even the odd extra $1 or $2 makes a massive difference. You'd probably have to watch about 1,000 videos to equate to that. That's how low the AdSense money is at the moment on YouTube, especially, and it's even getting lower because advertisers are pulling out at the moment. It's been in the news quite a bit, like Pepsi and so on. But that's it for this video anyway, so I'll see you next time in the next video of this Let's Play, and please check out my guide videos as well if you haven't already. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.